This is the lower part of the vertebral canal opened to expose its contents, which are the spinal cord and its meninges. The spinal cord is surrounded by three meninges, as the case with the brain. The outer tough fibrous layer is the spinal dura mater, which is partly attached to the bones of the vertebral column. However, the interval between the dura and the bones is narrow and is called epidural space. This is the epidural space which is artificially opened. It contains loose areolar tissue, semi-liquid fat, and a network of veins which correspond to the dural venous sinuses in the cranium. The spinal dura mater is formed of one layer, while that in the cranium is formed of two layers between which the venous sinuses lie. The two sites of attachment of the dura mater to the surrounding bones are to the back of the vertebral bodies and to the intervertebral foramina, where it sends out sleeves over the roots of the spinal nerves. These are the roots of the spinal nerves as they leave the spinal cord and pierce the dura mater to reach the intervertebral foramina. As these roots perforate the dura mater, it gives off sleeves around these roots. These sleeves become adherent to the margins of the intervertebral foramina. Each spinal nerve has a ventral root which arises from the ventral aspect of the spinal cord, and a dorsal root which arises from its dorsal aspect. This is the ventral root, and this is the dorsal root. As the two roots pierce the dura mater, the dorsal root possesses a spinal ganglion. This is a spinal ganglion close to the intervertebral foramen. This is another ganglion, and this is a third ganglion. This is the lower end of the dural sac, which ends blindly at the level of the second sacral segment. This is the second sacral segment, and this is the lower end of the dural sac opened. This is the spinal arachnoid matter. It is very thin and transparent. The space deep to it is called the subarachnoid space and is filled in the living by the cerebrospinal fluid. This is the dura mater to the outside of the arachnoid matter. The space between the arachnoid matter and the dura mater is called subdural space. This is the subdural space, and this is the subarachnoid space. This is the pia mater, which is a vascular thin membrane which adheres firmly to the surface of the spinal cord. The pia mater also extends downwards below the end of the spinal cord as a delicate thread-like filament called filum terminal. This is the filum terminal. It is surrounded by the roots of the sacral and lumbar nerves, which form what is called coda equina, from its resemblance to the tail of the horse. This filum terminal pierces the dural sac below at the level of the second sacral segment to enter the sacral canal and ends by getting attached to the back of the coccyx. The spinal cord begins from the level of the foramen magnum and ends below at the disc between the first and second lumbar vertebra, where it ends in a conical part called conus medullaris. Due to this high level of termination of the spinal cord, lumbar puncture is usually carried out at the level between the third and fourth lumbar vertebrae.